Hi everyone, it's me, and I want to apologize that I am unable to make it to lab to go over this with you in person and to give you physical copies of the checklist and of Jen's sample argument. I've got some stuff going on and I've just got weird appointments being scheduled all times of the day and I'm just gonna not be able to make it. So I made this video for you, or making this video for you. It's more or less what I would have done on the screen in class, and you would have had copies, paper copies of these documents that you could mark up. And what I want to show you is when you get into this assignment, your first argument, and I'm also going to post this for my online sections as well because I know some of them wanted to come to lab today and they're not going to be able to make it because I won't be there. When you get into lesson 7, after you've passed your last practice quiz and you go into your first argument draft assignment page, obviously there are the directions which I do want you to read carefully, and your citation guide, which has been there for you throughout. I want you to go ahead and click on use this checklist, and I believe most of you are going to write your final argument in MLA version. Jen did in 2008, and I have her copy I'll show you here in a minute. But if any of you want to use APA here, I just mocked up her exact text in APA version. So just to give you an idea about what is going on here, this is what the checklist looks like. It's a Google Doc, and you'll be able to, as usual, go under File, make a copy, and save a copy to your Google Drive. Let me make this a wee bit smaller. Anyway, it's really nice because what you can use this for, you don't necessarily need to use this for your first draft, which you're turning in at the end of this week. But after you have turned in your first draft and you've accessed your Turnitin report, you've accessed your Grammarly report, maybe you've met with a tutor, and you're getting ready to upload your final draft in 2.5 weeks from now, you can go through this checklist and just to make sure all your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, so that way you can earn as many of those 35 points as possible. And the thing I like about the Google checklist, Google Doc checklist, is you can go through it and you can go, okay, I did that. Yes, I did that. Yes, I did. And so you can go through and you can um, literally physically check off to make sure everything's in place. So I want to take a look at part of this checklist here. This first part here, which starts with the entire document all the way down to 5 spaces for indentation, that has to do with the physical look of the paper. But I wanted to talk about what goes into the paragraphs. This is where the majority of, when students lose points, this is where most of them lose the points. So, excuse me, I'm drinking my coffee this morning. Um, if, as you recall from the directions, you're only writing a 2-paragraph argument. The first paragraph will contain your argument, your issue conclusion, your reason, and your evidence. And the second paragraph will contain your counter argument. So there's a few things I want to point out to you here in the first paragraph. I know many of you are using evidence from sources other than Reed Karim's report on changing media landscape, and that's fine. But the genesis for your issue came from his report. So, excuse me, one of the things you'll need to do is to fully attribute that assigned source, that report, as the genesis of your issue. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in Jen's copy here in a minute. And then, of course, you want that explicit issue. Your explicit issue can be a question that's quoted. Can new media replace traditional journalism as reliable news sources? You can quote it, page, Karim 44, Karim 44. Or if you decided to paraphrase it, you can paraphrase it. Is it accurate to claim, or however you paraphrase it? I know some of you use the Quillbot paraphraser to paraphrase it, and nevertheless, still a citation because it is from his report. And then, of course, your explicit conclusion or main claim, which is a direct answer to the question. And then I would choose your best reason from your tentative micro argument, the one that didn't have as many problems like that I didn't comment on. Choose your best reason, follow it up with your level 2 evidence. Remember, evidence must always be attributed to the source of the evidence. If you're citing an individual or an organization, of course, you need to give their credibility. All evidence must have a citation, which will link to your works cited page or your reference page if you're using APA. And then we do know for this particular semester, we do have two key terms that will need to be defined. We have new media. What are you going to call new media? Are you, for your argument, each of you get to decide that. Is it going to be just independent news sources that are not corporately owned, or is it going to be those plus social media? And then in terms of reliable, you have to determine what you consider to be what's reliable. Is it a news organization that immediately corrects errors, that holds their reporters and journalists accountable for lies or fabrications or misinformation? How are you going to define reliable? That's up to you. Now, in terms of general ambiguity, if you go back and you look at my feedback on your tentative microargument, if I indicated, hey, this term is ambiguous, you will need a definition, that's a general ambiguity. So if I didn't do that, then you don't have anything to worry about. Likewise, if you had either a reason or a piece of evidence that, excuse me, that I said, look, you have an assumption within this reasoning, you'll need to write an assumption statement. And typically I would give you an example what that would look like. Then you would also need to provide your assumption statement in this first paragraph. Now, if you don't have those comments on your tentative microargument, that means you don't need to worry about these things. And I should say, if I indicated either of your reasons or your evidence had logical fallacies, that would mean you wouldn't be able to use them at all. Okay, because logical fallacies are killer for logic. All right, so this is what's going to go in the first paragraph. So now let's take a look at Jenn's. We've been following along with her work all semester long. This is her APA, or I'm sorry, her MLA version of her final argument. Some of you have pointed out, yes, this was not her name. I protected her name with a made-up name. It's supposed to be funny, Jenn and Tonic, but few people get it these days. Anywho, so here's the MLA page. You'll notice she has her header uh, with her last name, page number, her heading, her name, my name, the course, the day she turns it in, and then she provides a descriptive title. One thing I want to show you here on the checklist. Let me go back to the checklist real quick here, make sure. Yeah, up here in these first couple little boxes under descriptive title, the descriptive title is centered and represents a nugget of the argument's topic or conclusion. It is not underlined, bolded, italicized, or in quotation marks, and it is not a question or the issue. Some students get lazy and they're like, I don't know what to call this. Okay, so if we look here at hers, if you recall, her issue was, do street gangs represent a growing national problem? Notice that question is not the descriptive title. Okay, sorry, my phone's buzzing. I'm getting all these appointments coming in. So anywho, she titles it Street Gangs in America. That's her topic. And then she alludes to her claim, a low-level threat. So remember in the checklist, I said you have to give full attribution to the required source material. So if you recall, she read the pro-con or the at-issue column, just like you did, in Peter Cattell's CQ research report. So she says, in Peter Cattell's 2008 CQ research report on fighting crime, he asked the question, do street gangs represent a growing national problem? Citation. You guys can take this exact language and read Kareem's 2024 CQ research report on changing media landscape. He asked the question, and then you can plug it in. You know, can new media replace with page 44? If you want, you can make your explicit issue your paraphrase. You'll still need your citation. You'll still need the attribution. For those of you who might have forgotten from English 101, an attribution is the author, the date, the source, and the title. Provides context for the reader. So your very first sentence will contain your explicit issue as well as that citation. or I'm sorry, as well as that attribution. When you've done that, then you want to answer it immediately, and you'll notice she does that. Although these gangs will always represent a possible threat, they are not any more dangerous than they have been in the past, nor are they likely to grow into a bigger threat in the near future. So there is this part really is her conclusion, which is an answer to the question. You notice it's slightly altered, a little bit improved, a little more sophisticated than her draft from her tentative microargument. Now, what she decides to do is she decides to immediately tackle her key term ambiguities, which in her semester was streakings and growing. So she says first, nice transition there, a streaking, and she puts it in quotes to indicate that she's getting ready to define it. According to the National Gang Center's website, is a group of adolescents involved in minor and violent crime to protect their turf. Then she has a citation. So a couple things here. She puts streakings in quotes because it's the term she's defining. She uses an outside source, so she gives the attribution to the outside source of definition. Turf is in quotes, by the way, because it's being used as a slang term, or actually a jargon term, which was related to this area of study. Now, the what is citation in MLA, if we come down here to her, and I'm sorry, my dogs are barking in the backyard, you can see she has the citation, the what is a gang from the National Gang Center 2007, and the citation and the date she accessed it. So that's what that's all about. We come back up here to her first paragraph. So she's defined her first key term. And then she says, in addition, and okay, I'm going to pause it because my dog won't stop barking and it's driving me crazy. So if you guys will just hang on just a minute, we'll see if that shuts him up or not. Probably not because he's one of those yappy dogs. All right, so then she needs her second term or key term definition. So she says, in addition, growing problem can be documented statistically with an increase in crime. That's how she's choosing to define the term. All right. So what has she done so far in her first paragraph? She's given her attribution to the required source material, her explicit issue, her explicit conclusion, and her key term ambiguity. Now she goes right into her first reason, the reason she chose. From her tentative microargument, she chose her first reason. However, fewer young men are drawn into street gangs, thus reducing their numbers and the number of crimes, making them a low-level threat to society. So you can see she's kind of coming off of that definition of growing problem. So there's her reason. Then she needs to go into her evidence. Remember, evidence has to have a few things. It needs an attribution to the source, and it needs a citation. Now, she chose to quote her expert authority. You don't have to quote. You can paraphrase, but you'll still need attribution and citation. So she says, according to Franklin E. Zimmering, a criminologist at the University of California, Berkeley, in lousy neighborhoods with bad middle schools, the chances of males who are doing badly in schools getting involved in life-threatening violence went down. The notion of inevitability of high rates of interpersonal violence is being challenged. And then she has her citation. You'll see it has a QTDN, which is indicating an indirect quote from her source. So that's it. That's her argument in a nutshell. Just one single paragraph, takes up maybe half a page or so. And she has all of the required elements on the checklist: full attribution, signed source material, explicit issue, explicit conclusion, her reason, her level 2 evidence with the attribution citation, her two key terms. She didn't have any ambiguity. She didn't have any assumption statements, so she's good to go. Now, her second paragraph is going to be your counterargument. Now, I know I haven't finished scoring your counterarguments, and I'm planning on having those done by Friday afternoon or early evening, but you can still put your counterargument into your first draft so you can get that turned in by the end of the week, with the idea that you can use the feedback that I give you by the end of this week to revise it in the next 2.5 weeks. So the second paragraph should be the counter argument. You have an option of doing either a concession or a rebuttal. You don't have to do both. And remember, there's always 4 parts to a counter argument. Both the concession and rebuttal start the same. You state the opposition's conclusion and the reason or the evidence or reason-evidence combo that you are going to counter. Then if it's a concession, you offer your concession statement or statements, or if it's a rebuttal, you offer the attack, and in doing so, you name the specific weakness. Again, you can look on Canvas on Lesson 6, Part 2, at the counter argument assignment. You can look at the two samples of Jenn's counter arguments there, her concession, and the rebuttal that I dummied up, so you could see what a rebuttal would look like. Third part, if it's a concession, you offer your redirect. If it's a rebuttal, you add your rebuttal reason. Finally, the fourth part is you give a restatement of your own conclusion, which is found in paragraph 1. For those of you who are going to write rebuttals, you can also combine the restatement in your rebuttal reason. So 4 parts. So let's take a look again at what she wrote. So she starts off with, nevertheless, nice transition because she's changing directions. Those who argue street gangs are a growing threat. So there's their claim, or their conclusion. And then what is she going to counterclaim? There are over 2,000 open investigations into gang violence and a small increase in gang crime nationwide. So that's part 1. She states the opposition's conclusion and the reason she's going to counter. Then she needs to give her concession statement. True, there are many open investigations into violence and a small, although statistically insignificant, increase in gang-related crimes. There's her concession. Then she needs to redirect her third part. However, because she's changing back directions, right? These investigations and the uptick in crime are entirely related to the international drug cartel MS-13, not the commonplace youth gang dominated by young boys. And then finally, fourth part, therefore, youth street gang violence is not a growing threat to the American public. And then she does a page break, her works cited. Notice she has her required source material, which is where she also took her evidence, and then her source that she took her definition for street gang. You'll notice they are in alphabetical order, they're double spaced. It does have a hanging left margin. If you don't know how to do that, that's fine. This is the older version of MLA where you're required to put in the URL. The version I'm still using is the one where you get just put the word web, but I was informed by a student who went to see one of our tutors a couple weeks ago that MLA has come out with a new edition where they are requiring the URL back. Either way, if you put the URL, great. If you don't, if you put web, that's great. I'm good with it, just as long as you're consistent. So yeah, so that's her basic argument in her MLA format. And if I go back here, again, if you want to see a version of that same argument in APA, I just mocked this up so you could see what it would look like. It's her exact text. All I did was I put it in the correct APA version, which is basically a cover sheet, and the references are slightly different. The citations are slightly different. You can see here. Your big issue is just to make sure that you stay consistent. If you're going to stay in MLA, stay in MLA. If you're going to use APA, stay in APA. For those of you who it hasn't occurred to you yet, anytime I have this link for the citation format, a citation guide, I've already provided you with the version of MLA I'm using, of recurring's changing or report, as well as the citations to use. And I'm unsure why, as I'm scoring some of your counter arguments, those of you who are quoting Azimi or writings keep putting them in the citation when I've given you this reference guide. I'm confused why you don't follow directions. But anyway, there it is. Don't lose for those points. Those are silly points to lose. If you prefer to use APA, there's the APA reference right there. So that's it. That's pretty much all I wanted to go over with you. Again, remember, you get this posted. It can be a very rough draft. I need to see the minimum of 2 paragraphs. I need to see that you are writing about whether or not new media can replace traditional journalism as a reliable news source. Please don't write a paper about street gangs. You will fail if you do that. That is a bad idea. Please make sure you're attending to the topic we are writing about. The directions here just more or less go through the basic assignment, and it also points out for you that when I get ready to score this, come down here, I'm basically going to give you points for on-time submission, that you have a complete submission, and that you are actually addressing the topic issue, not the sample. Couple notes here about the Scribberd AI detector. This assignment I revised 4 or 5 semesters ago when we were all still using the Scribberd AI detector, but then we introduced students to Grammarly, and then there's been this like weird bleed over where students who use Grammarly and other than just to correct punctuation and spelling and grammar, but use it for sentence suggestions, for the clarity sentence suggestions. Some of those sentences are coming up hot on AI detectors, the Scribbr. So don't worry too much about this 25%. I know some of you are going to run it yourself and you're going to go, dang, I'm 38% or 48% and I wrote this on. Don't worry about it. My big issue is when I go to grade the final draft, I don't want to see 100% AI generated argument in those 2 paragraphs. The chances of that happening are pretty rare because AI isn't going to put in attributions and the correct citations and all that kind of good stuff. But, you know, in the off case that that happens, make sure that if you're quoting that you have your quotation marks in the right direction so that it doesn't tag it as plagiarized. Make sure if you're paraphrasing, even if you use a Quillbot, double check that the paraphrase isn't coming up hot as unintentional plagiarism. But, you know, really 2 paragraphs, you can't meet. And the thing is if you use the template for your counter argument, a lot of the same syntax will be the same for all of you for all 3 sections of 102. So there's going to be some hot areas highlighted there. I'm not really worried about that, right? I'm worried about the content of the argument itself. So at any rate, that is what I was going to go over in class or in lab today, and I apologize for not being able to be there. Once you get that submitted, and then you of course get and it can be very, very rough. Remember, I'm not reading it for content. I'm just checking over that it has all the necessary qualities. Grab that turn-in report, grab that report, post them. Then we have 2.5 weeks. Your final argument isn't due till November 27th, so this will give you an opportunity to talk to me, to talk to tutors, either in person or online. Yeah, so that's what I had for you today. And I should just give you a warning. I don't know maybe how often I can make it to campus in the next couple weeks. I'm trying to get some medical issues resolved before my insurance rolls over in January. So I'm trying to plan everything after the semester, but you know, so mid-December, but it may be the case that I have to come in earlier. Doctors want to see me earlier, whatever. So if that's the case, I might have to make the class go completely online for the remainder of the semester. My hope is that that won't happen, but you never know. You never know with doctors what they're going to decide they want to do. So anyway, my friends, uh, don't be worried. Don't panic. This is an easy 20 points, 15 points for the first draft, and then 5 points between these 2 reports. That'll really do a lot to boost your grade. I will get your counter arguments graded by mid-afternoon Friday or early evening Friday. And I just want you to, you know, bear down, get through this. I know many of you are still trying to play catch up. You're still having a hard time with some of the prior assignments. So use this opportunity to try to get as caught up as possible. You know, we're rolling down to 4 weeks left here after this week. And I want everybody to pass the class and as many of you to get A's and B's as possible. I will be sending you my update email for my Monday, Wednesday class. I'll be sending it to you guys Saturday morning. For my Tuesday, Thursday, and online sections, I'll be sending it to you Sunday morning. And I'll probably have a little more idea by then what the next 4 weeks look like for me in terms of being able to make it to campus. So take care, be safe, and I will talk to you soon.